Legendary drops. So EA just sold out as the title. Hell yeah. Let's look into this.
So EA is selling out. Honestly, one of the most predictable things for these guys to do. And this is going to be one of the biggest stories I've covered. This is going to be the second largest gaming acquisition in the history of the industry. And there's going to be some impacts that are felt industry-wide. All of it I plan on covering today. This is going to be a huge sign of what's to come for AAA, because while these guys have done their best to hide the scars, they have been bleeding a lot. And while we've seen profits soar and share prices go right with them, well, these guys all know that they're living on borrowed time, because you can only squeeze your talent, your IP, your franchises, your studios, your players, and their wallets and throw them away at a moment's notice for only so long.
Always keep the gatekeep the hobbies you love, kick out the bad actors, but allow those willing to learn off and understand the hobby respectfully. Yeah, I agree.
Before it catches up with you. So EA has gone private under the ownership of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, a group of others. And this has people asking a lot of questions, mostly pertaining to what's going to happen to EA? Are we going to see them have layoffs? Are we going to see them sell off their IP? Are they going to gut their studios? What's going to happen? Are we going to see less or more microtransactions? Are we going to see them change the messaging in their games?
Yes. I don't think so.
All of it. Kind of. There's a lot of polarized opinions around this entire topic, mostly pertaining to the politics around.
I'm on the opinion that let's just wait it out. Don't judge it before it happens, my guy. That's it. That's my opinion on this shit.
Around this kind of thing. And not a lot of people are putting their bias aside and asking the questions about what's actually going to happen to the games and, more importantly, to the players. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about the one thing that matters most, how this impacts you. Today's video is sponsored by Goddess of Victory Nikkei. On the surface, it looks just like a stylish anime shooter, but what really surprised me, and what I keep hearing from a lot of other people that play it, is just how strong the narrative actually is. It's got this great mix of great art, music that really sticks with you, and a story that's way better than what you would expect from any other free-to-play game. No wonder it's pulled in over 45 million players worldwide in just 2 years. And right now, Nikkei is a brand new crossover event with Resident Evil. You can recruit Ada Wong, Jill Valentine, and Claire Redfield. There's a new skin for Dee called Killer Wife Gotcha, and an original story that takes place in a mysterious mansion tied to the Torch of Salvation cult. It feels like classic Resident Evil, but through Nikkei's world and characters. The game is free to play on PC and mobile, and if you're new, this Resident Evil event is the perfect time to jump in. And if you haven't played for a while, it's a great reason to come back. Download Nikkei today using the link in the description or in the pinned comment. Thank you to Goddess of Victory Nikkei for sponsoring today's video. I think it's safe for me to say that EA is one of the most hated publishers in gaming, and it's for a good reason. They've become the poster child for everything that is wrong in AAA. Nickel and diming your players, gutting your franchises, chasing trends until the wheels fall off. From loot boxes to rush launches to live service, EA hasn't just contributed to the decline of AAA. These guys have been leading it, but that's always been on the back of public investment. And if you guys have watched this channel for any length of time, you know that I think that the games industry is just unstable. It's just not built for public investment. Quarterly earnings demands are pushing these executives to chase these short-term outcomes instead of long-term quality. That's why microtransactions are everywhere, why we see so many unfinished games, why live service has taken such a route. But all of this damage has been clear, not just to the games, but also to the trust that the players once had in the people that were making them. Sure, these companies have been posting record-breaking earnings, but the players, if you talk to them, you're seeing the opposite. Beloved franchises
very disappointed.
To them.
Most of them.
Prices keep climbing. Microtransactions are just carved out of what used to be whole games. These guys have made fortunes by strip mining their IP and their relationship with their players, all to keep Wall Street happy. But games are a gamble. Some of them hit, some of them flop, some of them take years to build, trends shift, audiences move on. In chasing that constant growth, publishers have chipped away at their own foundations that were built on joy and trust. Ubisoft is a clear warning of this. Forced into a 10-cent bailout, their stock is down 87% over 5 years thanks to over-monetization and a collapse in quality. That is the fate that all of these developers and all of these studios and all these publishers are desperate to avoid, which is why going private isn't an option for these guys anymore. I think it's inevitable. Which brings us to the buyout of Electronic Arts, as reported by IGN in an article titled EA Goes Private in $55 billion deal with PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, Andrew Wilson to remain as CEO.
55
Leslie Inpool writes, EA has confirmed it has agreed to be acquired by an investment group composed of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners in a transaction valued at approximately $55 billion. It is the largest all-cash sponsor take-private investment in history. EA will continue to be led by Wilson and remain headquartered in Redwood City, California. The transaction is expected to close Q1 fiscal year 2027, subject to regulatory and stockholder approvals. The transaction will be funded by a combination of cash from each of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners, the latter of which is an American investment firm based in Miami, Florida, and formed in 2021 by Jared Kushner,
I hate investment banking, bro.
Donald Trump's son-in-law. Why is that relevant? Combined, the deal is an equity investment of approximately $36 billion and $20 billion in debt financing, fully and solely committed by JP Morgan Chase Bank North America, $18 billion of which is expected to be funded at close. Each of PIF, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners plan to...
Okay, can we go back to having a rise in the environmental interactivity in these games rather than shinier graphics? I agree. Every time I look around the corner, I'm just disappointed. Right? I want shit. I want shit to find. Not just some lore piece that you can pick up and then read something. Something useful. Some bullshit material that you can find around the corner. Dark Souls is a very good example of it. You can find shit all around the corner. Elden Ring less, because it feels, you know, it doesn't feel like a Dark Souls thing. Elden Ring has Dark Souls stuff, but it's not exactly, you know, it's a standalone thing, to me at least. You know? Hello, fellow runner! How was your day today? Pretty good, pretty good. How about you? Everyone else has been having a good day so far. Darren is caffeinated, Azurhead had a good day. You know, Assassin's looking forward to the 5 hours of sleep he can have in 2 days.
Equity component of the financing entirely from capital under their respective control, the company said. That is a lot of money. This is a massive move. One of the most recognized American publishers in the industry, a pillar of AAA, is taking itself
like
off the public market
nowadays.
and putting itself into the hands of private investors. And at the table, we have Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, Silver Lake, and Affinity Partners. A lot of people have a lot of money riding on this. The PIF's involvement has really been dominating the headlines, which is pretty obvious.
Personally, I hope they lose everything. I hope EA goes down the drain and something else can grow from the corpse. You know? I hope that happens. Am I insane for that? Maybe. Do I think it will be better than trying to fix something that's already rotten to its heart? Yes.
Obvious these guys have been aggressively buying into sports, entertainment, technology, and video games, but they aren't doing this alone. This is a three-way bet with billions on the line, and everyone involved has the same bottom line, profit. And I have been
I'm crazy, to be honest. After you played Dying Light, I installed Dying Light, and I beat the entire game literally a minute ago. Hell yeah! I'm so sorry that you have witnessed the deaths of the brother and the scorpion. Man. I activated the nuclear warhead. Yeah. Technically, it's the good ending. Because you destroyed the plans to weaponize the virus. You destroy the virus. You know. And it actually, GRE's bullshit comes to light. And, you know, the world can heal. But the other one, the one we're currently in, I feel like that's the bad ending. Too bad that fucking crazy brothers survived. The Crazy Brothers?
So frustrated with the media's framing and their reaction to all of this because the focus has entirely been on
Tolgan Fatim. Ah, those guys. I mean, then you probably got him.
Internet reacts to EA's $55 billion sale of some of the worst people.
Wait, didn't they build a submarine? Didn't it blow up? The train. Oh, the train. You're right. Rocket train. Did that work? I thought they died in that. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, you just played it. You know better. You just
Ground.
played it.
Strip away the politics, the religion, and the culture war framing. The motive here is money. That's the directive here. Money, not ideology. It's just a bonus that it could help improve Saudi's public
I
image.
hope they died.
Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, has openly admitted that if sports washing raises their GDP by 1%, he'll keep doing it. These guys do not care what you think. I do have to say, I do think it's funny that the Saudi prince changed his Steam profile to say that I bought EA, thanks Reddit, but this is all a part of PIF's Vision 2030 plan, a direct response to oil revenue losing dominance by 2030. It's a diversification strategy meant to buy influence and stability in one of the most volatile regions in the world. And if you look at their investments into SNK, the soccer club that they bought, Live Golf, it's obvious that their goal isn't to
it's about EA
culture,
being
it's to
sold.
buy
Yep.
relevance and clean up their horrific public image while also securing long-term profit. But here's the key that I think a lot of people are losing sight of. Whatever PIF's motives are for EA and for the players, this deal still just comes down to money. EA is still one of the most hated publishers in gaming, and now their future hangs on a knife's edge. Going private could finally force them to get leaner, more focused, and rebuild some of the trust that they've burned for decades.
Bro, what is that? Is that an old Battlefield game?
Have more aggressive microtransactions, higher prices, tighter controls, less freedom. That's the fork in the road. It's not politics, not ideology. It's whether EA keeps bleeding players or they finally learn the smarter long-term play is just to deliver games that people actually want to buy.
All right.
I see this entire deal as boom or bust for EA, and there is no middle ground. We either see more of the EA that we already know, or we're going to see an EA that gets better with time, because this isn't just an acquisition, it's a leveraged buyout.
But probably the story,
$20 billion in debt is going to be strapped to the company. For a publisher that has historically operated with minimal debt, that is a massive shift for the company, and this is actually what is driving me insane right now, because everybody keeps talking like EA somehow has to make all that money back overnight. That is not how this works. That's not how any of these deals work. You do not erase $20 billion in 5 years.
No.
At a conservative pace, this debt could take 3 decades to pay off. And let's be clear, EA nets just under and sometimes over $1 billion every year. That's net profit. That's after developer salaries, after expenses, after everything. So yes, investors are going to want to see more of that, but the company is already profitable. What's working right now is likely not to change, which means the only real path forward for these guys out of that debt is consistency, long-term growth, expanding beyond their current money makers, not scrambling for some desperate cash grab. Now, I will say, if you're expecting layoffs, you are absolutely right, my friend, because, I mean, while EA is netting $1 billion in profit, that's off of the back of $7 billion in revenue, and that is a massive discrepancy. And as painful as it is for some of the people that are inside of the company, this is also going to be the best move from a business perspective. The games industry is bloated as is. Fidelity is overtaking gameplay. Headcounts have exploded while design is stagnated to be able to support that. EA employs nearly 15,000 people across all of its studios, and the sheer scale of that has been holding these guys back both in quality and financially. And I want to remind you that some of the best games of the past few years, the ones that have actually landed with players, came from smaller, leaner teams working with more manageable budgets. Fewer cooks in the kitchen make for a far clearer creative vision. We talked about this just recently in a past video, which makes it all the more relevant now, but the truth is this hardware and Fidelity arms race that we're in right now was never about the players. It's always been about the stock market. These visual benchmarks are the only thing that these investors understand. So budgets grew, headcounts exploded, spectacle took priority over design. That's how we got here. But EA doesn't have to impress investors anymore. They just need to make money sustainably. And the best way to do that isn't by chasing graphics or employing 15,000 people. It's about making better, higher quality games. Not the prettiest, not the most cinematic, but games where the people that are actually making them are the ones taking the wheel. And speaking of more control, going private means that EA is also not going to be under the same standards, same regulations, or having to meet some of the same criteria like ESG criteria and stuff like that. And before you guys grab your keyboard, just listen to me for a second. Right now, BlackRock and Vanguard hold about 22% of EA shares, and both of those guys enforce ESG standards. That is why we've gotten this corporate branded HR approved version of inclusivity. It's not born from creativity. It's coming from shareholder mandates, and players can feel the difference. We know when it's authentic, and we know when it's corporate. Private ownership removes that pressure, which means that characters
this game is so fucking shit
for them, not because an investor.
10 years of development for this shit stain of a game. Yikes. Yep.
Does. That is my eyes! Dragon Age, the Veilguard, and a Baldur's Gate 3. I really hope people understand this. Now, I will admit this one's going to be a bit of a Hail Mary, but I think the biggest potential upside here isn't even cultural, it's just foundational. EA will no longer be a public company, which means their focus should be shifting away from quarterly profits and towards the long-term health of their franchises, their IP, and their players. Private investors typically aren't looking for a quick revenue bump. They want steady, reliable income and bets that are going to pay off over decades. And with the PIF's capital behind them, well, the ceiling for those bets just got a hell of a lot higher. And we've already actually seen this in gaming already. Their 2022 investment into SNK fueled a 20% bump in revenue. And then on top of that, the studio's still doing well right now. And they've also come forward and said that that money came with no strings attached. They've had no impact at all on their creativity. And that precedent matters. It means that there's a real chance of EA actually improving. It also means that we could see them dusting off some of their dormant IP, Command and Conquer, Army of Two, Mercenaries, Titanfall, and maybe taking some bigger swings on single-player projects and rebuilding some of the trust that they have in their multiplayer ones.
Maybe being private would help, but I don't believe that. Yeah, no, EA, I think EA is just too far gone.
Of course, that is the best case scenario, and in this industry, as we all know, best case rarely pans out. I've seen people so up in arms over this. Oh, this is going to ruin EA.
Ruin? You're crying about a ruined building. You're crying at a grave that you think is alive.
Ruin what's already the worst. I haven't bought any of their games in years. I will buy Battlefield 6.
I am still waiting, whether it's good or not, when it comes out. The beta was satisfying. But that alone will not get me to buy it before release.
But Dragon Age the Veilguard was a code that was given to me. God, these guys really need to stop doing that. But I've seen people talk about how this is going to change all of their games. They're going to change The Sims because, no, The Sims makes them $400 million a year. These guys are going to cut what's not working, and then they're going to pump what is. That's what they're going to do. It's as simple as that. And the whole debt conversation is just hilarious to me. It's like people have no idea how corporate debt works. It largely doesn't even exist, especially in the U.S. economy. These guys have so many tax breaks and deductibles. They could shield it. They make $7 billion in revenue, $1 billion after all of their expenses. All they got to do is chop some necessary costs that they have in the background, probably do a little bit of layoffs. They can pay it, refinance it, flip it, cut into pieces, hide it wherever they want, turn it into a pizza, throw it in the oven. Who knows, man? It is not a life or death scenario.
I think that the new owners would get rid of all the DEI hires. Yeah, probably not. I hope they will. Actually, no, I hope the company dies. Again, I hope all of this just goes down the drain and they give up on it because it's a loss. Because they're gonna lose. I hope they give up on it. I do. I hope. Hope they're gonna discard it. It's gonna be a piece of shit on the side of the road. And that's it. That's all that happens. I hope that's
going to reshape their games. I'm gonna tell you that. I think it's just a low-hanging fruit to be the doomer about this entire situation, mostly because I'm not really interested in
this case. Most possible, EA will become FIFA every year. Shit.
I've been talking about this for the entire time I've had this entire YouTube channel. I want these guys to be smaller. I want them to have more focused teams. I want them to bring back some of their old IP and see if some of that works. And you're going to be able to see a lot more of those bets, and they're going to be able to take a lot more of those bets now that they're private.
I think they'll outmaneuver them and put in something far worse.
Oh, isn't that terrible? One of the most notorious publishers.
Dodging a bullet to get a nuke in the face. The N-bomb.
And the entire industry is now dead. It's a win-win scenario. I do not understand why people are so upset. I really don't. I do think that there will be some immediate changes. Oh boy, yes, there definitely will be, especially when it comes to layoffs. That's going to happen pretty much immediately. I can tell you that right now. But it's also going to cause a shockwave throughout the entire industry, because if this does work for EA and for us, if there's one thing that we've learned over the years, especially in AAA, these guys really like to play follow the leader. Now, I want to talk about some of the reactions to this news, because I've seen a lot of doom posting from games media and on social media. And
it's actually bad.
The money, many of these people don't realize is that many of these changes aren't just inevitable; they might actually be for the better. And one of the first ones that's being
why does that guy look like that?
Yes, they are coming. We've seen this every single time. Xbox taking over Activision Blizzard, Sony with Bungie, Tencent with Ubisoft. All these guys cut staff because these companies have grown far too big. I think with EA, most of the noise right now is just virtue signaling about AI taking over people's jobs. And to be fair, they're right to an extent. In my eyes, AI is not a bulletproof technology yet. It's still rough. It still needs time. And these companies are overcommitting.
There will
way
be
too
layoffs.
soon. But
Where are
regardless of
these
AI,
people
EA
are
still
gonna
needs to
go?
cut
I
back.
don't know.
According to their own site, they have
If
20
they're DEI
studios with over
hires, I hope they
6,000
get
creators globally, but nearly
hired in a
15,000
non-profit DEI
employees
company
total.
that
At
is
that
for
scale,
money
redundancies are
washing
already piling
only.
up. Acquisitions are
Honestly.
the moment where these companies can reassess and figure out what they actually need. And that can go either way. They
Those
can trim
exist.
the fat, refocus
They
development, and
exist
we can get
everywhere.
better games, or they could cut the wrong people and their quality could nosedive. We have to wait and see which way that goes. I'm so sick of games media spinning these layoffs like they're an apocalyptic event. This industry is transient.
Yeah, I
People
hope
are
that too.
acting like these layoffs make it where talent is just going to disappear into the ether, when in reality, most of these developers are just going to resurface somewhere else, oftentimes somewhere better than where they actually were. Ubisoft's
True.
endless layoffs and lack of risk-taking directly gave us Sandfall Entertainment and Expedition 33.
Hell
Gave
yeah.
us Embark Studios, the team behind the finals and the soon-to-be-released Arc Raiders. This industry is full of those stories. What do you guys want? Do you want talented people to be stuck at EA, or do you want them to be
The thing I noticed in this game is that you can feel their love to the game. They put a lot of themselves in the game, and not by infusing themselves in the story, but they gave a lot of work, time, sweat, and tears into this game, and you can feel that. They didn't make a self-insert or some shit. Maybe they did, right? But they did it in the right way. I just want these guys and these narrative consultants to get out of the games industry altogether. I hope they get out altogether out of every industry. They don't belong here. There is no talented people in EA. There probably is, but they're probably, you know, some janitor or some shit that got demoted because he talked back. Honestly. They're not gonna leave that easy. They are like cockroaches. Yes. Yes. Sadly.
the next great thing somewhere else. These big publishers have become a beacon of security in an industry that can buckle under a single release, and sometimes these layoffs are just the push that people need. We crave stability so badly that we will cling to it even when it's not in our best interest. And I get it. It sucks for the people that are in the moment that are losing their jobs, but we can't criticize these companies for refusing to take risks with their games when the industry, the employees, and even games media,
which means only one thing.
So tight.
Hans,
this is an artistic industry.
Gets a Flammenwerfer!
Makes it great. Another complaint I've seen mostly coming from games journalists is that EA's messaging will change, or their IP will get sold off, with BioWare at the center of that entire discussion. And sure, some of that is possible, but a lot of it's just a flat-out over-exaggeration and a complete misunderstanding of how private equity actually works. EA is not a struggling bargain bin business where you need to strip them for parts. They are profitable. They've historically carried no debt. You can cut and flip assets.
Reload,
motherfucker. Something
motherfucker.
that's already broken, not when you just drop $55 billion on a publisher that already prints money. I've seen people claiming that Mass Effect 5 or Iron Man are destined to be canceled. Based on what exactly?
What?
Unless those projects are catastrophically behind their schedule or stuck in development hell, they're going to move forward. If they're cut, they're being cut because they were doomed from the start. And with BioWare specifically, I mean, let's be honest here, they haven't shipped a worthwhile game since Inquisition. That's over a decade now. At some point, you got to stop calling it potential and start calling it rot. Mass Effect 5 is likely their last shot regardless of who owns EA. Keep in mind, games journalists only months ago were saying just as much, but oh wait, now it's the Saudis that are the problem. No company is going to let a studio sit on its hands for 2 decades without delivering something commercially viable. Now, part of that blame is on EA. They shoved live service down BioWare's throat, which is how we got Anthem and why Veilguard felt so mechanically thin as an RPG.
10 years ago,
it started
holy
out
shit.
as a live service project, but at some point, you have
They
to say that
they
enough
buy
is
talented studios, give them an impossible task outside of their area of expertise, and then shut the studios down when they fail to meet the impossible expectations set by this insane company. Yeah.
enough.
True.
And then we go on to the
Very,
next
very
wave of
true.
criticism sparked by Veilguard's former writer and echoed by games journalists, claiming that it's going to be guns and football in and gay stuff out, and that BioWare is going to be shut down entirely. Saying on Blue Sky, buyers, so your games, guns and football, yes? EA, mostly guns and football, yep. Buyers, no gay stuff, no politics we're not going to like. EA, haha, definitely not. Could you give me just a sec? I need to shut down a studio real quick. I'm sorry, but what are you talking
Huh.
about? Your writing
The
in your
fuck?
game is why that studio is on life support right
We
now. It's
know they
also
would
why you're no
not be
longer
able to do that.
working at that studio.
I
Now
don't
you're
know.
acting like you got a scapegoat if the studio tanks, acting like EA or the new ownership are going to be the problem when you're the one that made the game that failed to interest anyone to buy it at all. Veilguard missed sales targets by half. 1.5 million copies for one of the most recognized RPG franchises in the world from one of the most recognized RPG studios in the world. That is not politics. That's not on investors. That's on the game, but you don't want to take responsibility for that. This is not a debate whether gender politics belong in these games or inclusivity should exist. It's whether those choices translated into sales. Players vote with their wallets, and the truth is there's plenty of other games that are out there that handled those same themes far better and sold way better because of it. Now, I will say on the guns and football line, they're not wrong, but not for the reasons that they think. These investors are not sitting around scheming about identity politics. These guys are looking at sales charts.
I hope
Guns
so.
and football sells. That's what people are playing. That's what people are spending their money on. That's where the changes are going to be. This change isn't going to be about politics. It's going to be about profit. And for the
I
first time
hope
in
so.
decades, EA is not going to have
But
anybody
again,
else
my
breathing
bigger
down their
hope
neck,
is that it
telling them what
dies.
trends to chase next and trends that they don't even understand or even
It's
care
too
about.
big.
These guys are just going to be
The
able to be
company.
free to double down on what players are actually asking for. And I think that we can already see that shift happen with Battlefield 6. Looking at the investment that went into that game, multiple studios aligned, resources that are pulled together, a clearer vision of what that franchise needs to be able to get back on track. It feels like a holistic effort built for the players. To me, at the very least, I think that's a
Put it out
preview of what
the
this deal
misery.
could mean if it
When
actually
you demolish
works.
the places
Bigger
they have turned into nests and burn the eggs in the exposed nests. True.
bets, sharper
I hope
focus,
so.
and a game that's actually designed to meet their
Hope we
audience
can
where
do
they
that.
actually are. And now this is actually where I think this deal gets even bigger than EA, because if it actually works, you can expect nearly every other major publisher to start looking for the exact same exit ramp. Ubisoft, Square Enix, all of them are struggling with the same problems right now. Bloated teams, these massive budgets, chasing short-term investor hype instead of long-term stability. If EA can prove that going private is the safer, more profitable route, then privatization is
I
just going to become
hope
the new
so.
playbook.
That's
But
why I
also
yelled,
think the reverse is
Hans!
just as true, because if
Get
EA
the
stumbles under this deal, if the debt
Flammenwerfer!
buries them, if their quality tanks, if their players turn away, then it's not just going to be EA that's paying the price. It's going to be billions of dollars of outside capital that could evaporate from gaming overnight. Investors do not like risk, and if one of the biggest publishers in the world can't make this work, then the message to the rest of the market is going to be clear: stay out. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when I was first talking about my optimism with Battlefield 6, I was blown away by the fact that they had pulled together all these resources, had all of their studios working together. They created Battlefield Labs and all that stuff. And I originally had thought that it was because they saw a moment of weakness with Call of Duty, but now I'm realizing it was probably all predicated on this deal. Keep in mind that these deals are always going on in the background. They're talking about this stuff for years, many years before some of these deals actually get inked.
As you should, brother.
That's likely what this is, which means that they wanted to see what EA was capable of if they pulled all their resources together, if they pulled their teams together. They wanted to see if they could actually drive demand, if they could tap into some of the original EA magic that these companies or these investors, are probably looking into right now. And the hype, the excitement, likely also the pre-orders are probably what ended up selling this deal to these investors. And that's probably what made this entire thing happen. I always make sure to try to mention this, but for some of the developers that might be watching this video, for the people that might be working at EA, I understand that some of you guys are absolutely terrified right now. I get it. I really do, because I've been in the exact same position, and I always wanted to do YouTube full time. I thought it'd be a really cool job to do. And at one point in time, I totally thought that I could do it. My channel was doing really well, but I would have never taken the risk. I would have kept working for my company. My channel probably would have never grown to the point that it's actually grown, thanks to all of the kindness and generosity that the people that have watched my videos have shown me. But if it wasn't for me getting laid off, I would have never taken the jump. So sometimes, especially if your company values AI more than you're probably going to be better off somewhere else and better off for it. At least that's my opinion. I'm really interested to see where this goes. I know a lot of people are being doomer about it, and I don't really know exactly where this is going to go. I know I looked at a lot of the more optimistic side of this. The flip side is just a lot less interesting, because it's just they go out of business, and who cares, to be honest with you. But I always enjoy talking about these games and talking about trends and reviewing games, but this is like a feast for me, and I need you guys to understand it. I enjoy talking about the business side of this industry, and I think this is just cool
I get
as
it, it's
hell, and I'm
fine.
totally nerding out about it. So I'm enjoying the ride, and I can't wait to see how this all turns out. I'm really curious to see how a massive publisher does private. It's going to be interesting.
To me, again, I hope they don't make it. I hope something new can rise from it and stays private from the start. Doesn't go public, because we've seen what going public does over the years. It never ends well. That much is for sure.
We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Come follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitter, where I talk a bunch of smack and things like that. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys actually think is going to happen with this. But yeah,
I have no idea.
Thank you guys for watching the video. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Family. Yeah, pretty cool. This is Legendary Drops. Leave a like, subscribe, check them out.